think materials are really important, and sometimes when we teach about materials, whether it's paper or paint or textiles, people forget, you know, that they have a history, or they have some kind of significance, and we think that maybe paint, just because it's paint, is artistic in itself, and I don't believe it is. I think how it's used is really where maybe the art happens. But at the same time, you know, with my sewn works, you know, what kind of understandings are built as I create those, you know. When I start working on the piece, I don't necessarily have it all figured out from the very beginning, and I think that's another thing to teach as we are thinking about art is, so I think some people feel that an artist has this, you know, there's the lone genius working isolatedly, and then they have this, you know, vision, and they have to create it. And maybe some artists do that, but I rarely do. I use art as a tool to learn and make meaning. And so as I started working on it, I thought about, you know, a marriage and what that, you know, takes to have this relationship that is an eternal one. And I think that if we have this notion of what love is, and it resides in the heart, and it flows through my veins, and I have this passion that comes through this thing called a heart, I think if it's going to be an eternal sense of love, it has to shift, because that isn't really eternal. You know, we die, our blood goes away, you know, our hearts stop beating. And so I think that if it's an eternal love, something has to change. So what I did is in here I made these pockets. You can see that people have used them because they're getting dirty. It was hanging in a couple shows, and this is a seam ripper. So I put a seam ripper in here because I thought, you know what, even though I spent all this work in making this temporal love happen and work, we're going to have to unstitch it at some point. So my notions, my understandings of what love is, and where it resides have to be at some point taken apart and removed and replaced. And so I put in this little box a little golden thread and a needle, because then that allows me to restitch it in something else. Oh, you're going to hear my noisy bird. Yeah, I've just, you know, I've been making a sourdough for about 9 years. You know, my neighbor brought me some bread, and I thought it was just fantastic. And she was telling me about, how she was making it and everything. And so I got really into it. But in the last 3 months or so, I've been making this more artisan bread. So I haven't even used my mixer. It's just all hand mixed, and you use a lighter touch, a lot higher water content, and it's really been cool. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So I make a couple loaves a day, sometimes 10 loaves a day. Some people will say, well, just jeans making is jeans making. It's not art at all. But this is a piece that I did this fall for an exhibition called E Pluribus Unum. It was about our bipartisan system, and the concept E Pluribus Unum, out of many one. I think is a great concept. Like, why don't we talk about that? You know, out of many, the diversity that is this nation is what really is key for our success as this nation. And so this bipartisan, conversation that we continue to have is sometimes troubling, because you just have to set yourself up as in these polar opposites, where it might not be about these polarities. It might be about something else, because once you set yourself, you're saying, no, I'm America, no, I'm America, I'm what, I'm the voice of America. You set this conversation back and forth, but you just have nothing else but conversation. So I thought this was kind of a good representation of that.
Personality tests, spirituality is at the top of my identity, which is kind of funny, so I'm always so surprised. But in taking those tests, you do think about how that relates to your life, and so I can't dismiss it. I was raised thinking about spiritual issues and why I'm here on this earth, and what my role is, and my interaction with people, why I'm here, and how my interactions matter. How does the gospel and the principles and the instructions and all those things that I've learned and engaged with, how do they affect my thinking and my practice? I think about that quite a lot.